We're good to go? Yeah. Great. Okay. Good afternoon. It is October 24th, 5:05 p.m. I'd like to call the Altadena Library District Board of Trustees meeting to order. We'll first start the meeting off, as is tradition, reading in the district's land acknowledgement. The Altadena Library District acknowledges its presence on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded land of the Gabrielino Tonga peoples. Altadena is located on the stolen homelands of the Hahamanga tribal band. The traditional territory of the Gabrielino Tonga is referred to as Toba Angar, which includes the areas currently known as Los Angeles County, Riverside County, West San Bernardino County, parts of Orange County, as well as the 4 southern Channel Islands. Entities such as the U.S. government and non-native settlers have subjected the Gabrielino Tonga peoples to historic and continuing injustices, including genocide, forced displacement, and cultural and linguistic erasure. Altadena Library commits to learning, educating, and informing its staff and residents of present-day Altadena about the rich histories, vibrant communities, and culture of Gabrielino Tonga people, present and past, through our collection development, resources, and program offerings. I'd like to do a roll call, please. Trustee Andrews? Here. Trustee Capel? Here. Trustee Clark?
Here.
Trustee Wilkerson?
Here.
Great. And we have a full quorum. All right. Do we have any amendments or reordering of the posted agenda before you, colleagues? Okay. Seeing none, may I get a motion to approve the agenda as posted?
I move that we approve the agenda.
Great. Thank you. I get a second.
Second.
Okay. Any comments or questions on that matter? Seeing none, we'll take the matter to a vote. Trustee Andrews?
Aye.
Trustee Capel?
Aye.
Trustee Clark?
Aye.
Trustee Wilkerson?
Aye.
And this is an aye vote for me. The agenda is now approved. Do we have any public comment on non-agenda items at this time?
No public comment at this time.
Thank you very much. Next, we will go to item 3, which is the consent calendar. This is approval of the items recommended for consent items, as well as the approval of the minutes, which are on pages 4 through 13 of your handouts. Colleagues, any questions or comments on the minutes before you? Okay, seeing none, may I get a motion to approve this consent calendar?
So moved.
Thank you. May I get a second?
Second.
Great. Any further discussion or questions on the consent calendar? Okay, seeing none, we'll take that matter to a vote. Trustee Andrews?
Aye.
Trustee Capel?
Aye.
Trustee Clark?
Aye.
Trustee Wilkerson?
Aye.
Great. And that's an aye vote for me. We have no consideration of other items removed from the consent calendar. So now we will go to the department updates and special presentations, which can be found on pages 14 through 29 of your packet. Colleagues, I'm sure you've had the opportunity to review the packet. We have staff here that can answer any questions you may have or comments. Colleagues?
Well, we've got a deep agenda tonight with a lot of action items, but the one thing I wanted to just highlight, really excited to see that Isabel Briggs managed to get a seat on the advisory committee for PUSD. Just all the work that we're trying to do to build bridges with our neighbors, I think that's really critical, and I'm glad that the library district will be represented.
Great, thank you. Any other comments, questions?
On a personal note, on the report that featured true crime books and so on, I was inspired to find Tell Me Everything. I went to the Cloud Library and there it was. So I've got that as on my reading list. It was a very, very good report there.
All right, seeing no other comments, the report is comprehensive as always. Thank you, staff, for all your hard work throughout the month. All right, next we will go to The support groups, item 6A. Do we have Bridget here from the foundation? There she is. Hello, Bridget. We can't hear you, Bridget.
I know that you have to unmute these things in order to be heard. I'm figuring it out. I
There we
need
go.
to do Zoom more often. Not. Really, there's not that much to report other than in the materials that were included with this report. It was just, I wanted you to be aware of how we're approaching the coming year of 2023. And that is through kind of keeping on the way we've been doing things, with also an eye to the possibility of unifying with the Friends. We'll see how that goes. We want to begin relationship building there in the future. I think the other important thing, of course, was the receipt of our grant from Pasadena Community Foundation in the amount of $20,000. So we were so excited about that. And I got a message today from Chloe saying the check is literally in the bank. So I think they're going to be excited to start really building out the Fab Lab. And then, of course, the other thing was, as a result of that, then we adjusted the request. We asked the library to adjust their request. So our plan now is to raise $37,500 for the library in the year 2023. And then on a disappointing note, Chloe had to resign. She's just overwhelmed with her working on her master's. And then there are all these intern hours she has to do. So we're bidding her a fond farewell this Friday, and we received 12 applications, and we will be interviewing 7 people this Thursday and Friday who all look really, really wonderful. We're really thrilled I was shocked to receive that many applications for a part-time position. So we're really, really very happy about that. And that's really it.
Great. Well, thank you very much for being here.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome.
Yeah, just an observation, and that is the call that you had for this opening, and you listed what the skill set was and so on, a part-time job. About what a great job it would be for somebody getting out of college, and it was an entry-level type of a job. It looked like it had just a little of everything in there. So good luck with your choosing, but I thought that was an ideal opportunity for a young person looking to get into the workforce.
Certainly is. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? No? Well, as always, we appreciate your support and for you being here this evening. Thank you so much.
Very welcome. Thank you all.
Is Tom here with us this evening?
Yes.
Hello, Tom.
Hey, everybody.
How are you?
I'm well, and I hope you're all well, too.
I think we are.
All right, super. Let's move on. So we had a second Saturday show a couple of weeks ago, and that went really well. It was well attended. Had some support from the community. Really had a good time. And we hope to see you guys at the next second Saturday. We had a book sale on the 16th, and our best intentions were to have it in the parking lot, but Mother Nature did not want to communicate with us. Jonathan and I were out in the parking lot at 6 a.m. that morning, wishing the rain to go away, but it just didn't work out that way. So the library pivoted, and we moved everything into the community room with the help of Isabel's youth volunteers and a bunch of Boy Scouts and male Boy Scouts and female Boy Scouts. And boy, they did a heck of a job moving us up there. We had a great turnout despite the rain. We had $1,697 in sales, $450 in membership, for a total of $2,147. Our next book sale is scheduled for the tree lighting ceremony. I believe it's on December 8th.
Okay.
Any questions?
Colleagues, any questions or comments?
Just a comment. And that is that I was really impressed reading and hearing about moving from the outside to the inside like that. So I think that's the second time it's happened in the last couple of years. So congratulations on that, and a good result from the sale too. So way to go, friends.
Yes, I'd like to append my statement by saying that the library has been very supportive of the Friends. They helped us with the banner, they helped us with publicity, they've helped us with everything along the way, and they really came around us on that Saturday and helped make it a success. So thanks very much.
And I hope we're all prepared for the Christmas tree lighting, because for the 100th anniversary, I can only imagine how many people are going to be here this year.
Right, so let's rock on.
Well, Tom, to you and your colleagues, congratulations and job well done. So thank you again for your support.
Super. It's our pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, with that, we will go to the director's report, which you can find on page 35 of our handouts. Nikki.
Good evening, trustees and
I don't think the
members
microphone's
of the
on.
public. Am I on?
The button right there, on the base of it.
Oh,
The
let's
base.
see. There we go. I think I'm loud enough anyway, but anyway. All right, so good evening, trustees and members of the public watching us online. So this month, not a lot in terms of staffing updates, which is good news. We do have interviews scheduled for the Youth and Family Services Manager position that's currently open, scheduled for next Wednesday, November the 2nd, with our external interview panel. We're hopeful that the second/final round of interviews will take place the following week, and then hopefully we'll have somebody on board within the next month or two. So fingers crossed there. We also have our part-time staff accountant position posted on the website for applications to come in. That's been up for the past few weeks. We put that we're going to do first review of applications after tomorrow. So if you know anyone that might be interested, please encourage them to apply soon. This year we held our staff development day on October the 10th. Thank you to the Board of Trustees for your continued support of our staff professional development and training. This year, the focus was on the strategic plan update that we're currently working on. The board voted to approve our 2020 strategic plan back in December of 2019. So we're taking a look at it through a post-pandemic lens. And staff worked in 5 tables to answer 3 different questions to provide their feedback about what worked well in the past, what worked well during the pandemic, and then what we'd like to see moving forward to help inform that plan. In addition to that, with our strategic planning consultant, Danielle Milam, she came last week and actually held in-person interviews with several community stakeholders to also get information from them to help inform the way our community partners would like to see us build in their feedback on our strategic plan update. In addition to that, we sent out a survey to about another 28 community stakeholders, I would say, to answer the same 5 questions that she asked the people in person. We have been receiving responses to that. When all of that information's been collected, she's planning to meet individually with the trustees to gather your feedback as well, and then hopefully inform a final report that we'll present to the board. We're planning on in December for the board to approve. So excited to look at our strategic plan through a post-pandemic lens. It's not going to be a new plan, because I think the plan that we have is really good and can continue to be used, but again, to establish what our goals should look like for the next 3 to 5 years. So more information to come on that. I did also want to say thank you to the Altadena Library Foundation for very quickly pulling together the grant application for the Pasadena Community Foundation. This is going to fund a rejuvenation of the equipment needed to upgrade our Fab Lab. Much of the equipment in there is at end of life. We were in the pandemic, not sure how much we should be investing, but this will be all equipment that can continue to be used even post renovation. So excited to get those $20,000 and thankful to the foundation. In terms of the special tax rates, thank you to the trustees that have been keeping an eye on social media. People have started to receive their property tax bills, which include the new special tax lien. I have been fielding several calls throughout the week. If you have anyone reach out to you, please refer them to me and I'm happy to provide more information. And we're also still pushing people to please fill out our building project survey. The facilities committee would like to gather as much feedback and input as possible as we continue to develop the design for both libraries. The link to that survey can be found on the next chapter page on our website. So as you're all aware, we do have a vacancy for the Board of Trustees. We did just establish that we'll be holding the special meeting on November the 14th at 7 p.m. where all of the trustees will come together to vote. The application process is open currently. Those that are interested just need to visit the website. It's the board vacancy page and have until Wednesday, November 9th at 5 p.m. to fill out the certification of qualifications. Send us the resume and letter of interest. Please spread the word. Haven't had many applicants yet, but I am hopeful knowing that 2 years ago we had, I believe, 7 candidates. So again, if you know anyone that might be interested in serving on the board, please spread the word. I also wanted to give kudos to the Library Foundation for another very successful Taste of Dina event. I don't know if Bridget said it, but they raised over $35,000 in that one event, which is wonderful. And it was a really fun time. So thank you to the foundation for all of their hard work putting that together in support of the district. Also, congratulations to the Friends for, yes, at the last minute, of course, the rainiest day of the year, the one and only, was their book sale. So thanks to Jonathan and everyone for moving that indoors. And also thanks to Tom for doing the introduction for our second Saturday on October the 8th. The Poets Laureate program continues to have programs that are very popular and well attended. They were here this last Saturday. I think there were about 25 people by the time I left. So continue to spread the word, and it's really impressive to see how many people are interested in the arts and the programming that we offer here. It is National Native American History Month in November. So Tina Calderon, who helped us write our land acknowledgement statement and has been a great partner and consultant with us, will be offering a program to share stories, songs, and history of the Gabrielino Tongva peoples on Wednesday, November 9th at 6 p.m. And then we'll also have Terry Goodell, who will teach the Altadena community about Native hoop dance. That's going to be taking place on Saturday, November 19th at 11 a.m. And I think that's enough from me. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Nikki. Colleagues, any questions or comments for our director? Terry, do you have a question or comment?
Well, looking at the statistical update, and I don't, Nikki, are you still going to be talking about that, the statistical update? Or is that part of your report?
Oh, if you have any questions.
Well, no, I don't have
Sorry.
any question, just a comment. It looks like
Sure.
On the visitor count, we set an all-time, well, at least on this form, the high record of 8,145 on the visitor count, which I've been watching these numbers. I know all of us have to see sort of the regrowth of the services of the library, and that was very impressive. That's a big number to get in September, so
Yep.
Congrats for that.
Thank you. Yeah, the numbers continue to grow. The one thing that David did point out is we're tracking Library of Things a little differently. So the number looked like it jumped quite a bit this month, but that's because we weren't counting things the same way. So I think it's a better representation of the Library of Things items that are being checked out, which are quite popular around here.
Any other questions or comments, colleagues? No? Just one quick question. I know that we talked previously about the land acknowledgement, and Tina did a great job helping us with that. We also discussed maybe having her come one time in the future. Obviously, next month's going to be pretty jam-packed, but I think it'd be helpful to have her come in a future meeting to kind of just share the thoughts that she has about how we could acknowledge beyond just reading into the record that statement every month, and just to be helpful. It's going to get that perspective. So it's a rich discussion beyond just reading it out.
Yeah, for sure. And we actually had her attend our, I remember what month it was. it is October now. I think it might have been July. Our all staff meeting where we gave her the whole hour to present on the history of her people and, just provide more information to staff so that when they're reading it ahead of a program, they can answer questions as well. So I could ask her if she could come do kind of an abbreviated version of that.
That'd be great.
Mhm.
You know, I'd like to add on to that a little bit. There was an article in the Times that I'm sure you're aware of that land was donated to them to give the Onondaga people so they can do their ceremonies and so on. And I thought that was really interesting. So she might be able to fill us in on what's happening with that too.
Yep.
Great. Thank you, Luann. I appreciate that, Nikki. Okay, so now we'll go to the financial reports, which starts on page 45 of your packet.
All right. So I want to thank Ideally again for getting us the reports for the month before. It's just been a really great turnaround, and for the very informative variance report. I think that helps a lot in terms of giving us context about why the numbers are higher or lower than expected. So these are for the month of September 2022. Currently, we're at 25% of our budget year. Actual year-to-date expenditures are $1,167,139 with a year-to-date revenue at $41,212, reflecting a net income of negative $1,125 and net $125,927. As you all know, we received our big bump in revenue in December, so those numbers will look a lot different come January. So cash and investments are at $25,341,422. This is due to the bond proceeds, which are restricted. Our liquid funds are $3,207,539. So total cash with the county right now is just over $2.5 million, which satisfies our 50% operating expense held in reserves of just over $2 million. So going to revenue highlights, the question was raised last month about income in line 2, property taxes and assessments. There can be a variance from month to month on the taxes and assessments received by the county. This is due to the reversal of property tax receivable at year end and the delay in recording receipts for the current year. So as line 2 shows this time, although last month we were up, I think it was about 71,000. This month there was a deficit of 55,000. So the net gain right now is 21,235 thus far for the fiscal year. So we will see that number vary from month to month. But I just wanted to answer that question from last month. Other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Colleagues, questions or comments on the financial report?
You answered my line 2 questions, so I'm good. That's super helpful. Thank you.
Yep, for sure.
All right, seeing no other questions or comments from my colleagues, thank you very much for that, Nikki. We will now go to the Board of Trustees Standing Committee reports. Community Facilities District report. Terry.
Yeah, you can see the report on page 56. We had a meeting, excuse me, which was the first one in a while, in 4 months. And we got a progress report on the bond sale and how the proceeds have been invested while we work for the construction. And then Jason, I was careful to ask him a question that you posted at the last meeting, and that would be, what is the time frame for spending the money? You know, when do we have to have it done by? He said that it has to be spent or obligated by 3 years from the bond sale date of March 3rd, 2022. And he felt that we're not going to have any problem at all getting money obligated to or having to spend by that time. So we covered that. And then that's when Nikki also announced to our group the library grant of $7.5 million. So we've got quite a good chunk of change in the bank now to go forward. And we talked to the group, the community members that showed up or that were on the meeting, that their 2-year term is coming to an end, and they both expressed a desire to, retire from this committee. I think going forward, we discussed the idea of having a smaller committee in which there's only one community member. So there's going to be a total of 3 people on the committee. And we have yet to work out the details of that, but that will be something that would happen early next year. And so we would like to thank the members publicly. They did such a great job. Kim Kenny, who's also running for Pasadena Unified School Board, Amy Lyford and Jim Vitale. We got a lot done, I think, on that committee. There were lots of contributions from everybody, a lot of hard work, especially in the early days. So I'd like to thank them publicly for being there for all of that. Any questions about that?
Comments, questions, comments? Okay, thank you very much for that report.
Right, you bet.
All right.
Sorry,
we'll now go-
can I ask you one quick question, Terry, before we move on?
Sure.
At this, I can't remember when exactly this was, but back at the beginning of setting up the CFD committee, we had talked about having some sort of formative policies and processes going forward. And it sounds like the committee's kind of settled into what its role will be going forward. And I just wonder if you all have had a chance to kind of think about what those policies might look like, especially in light of having a different arrangement with citizen representation, or if you guys have kind of put some guardrails in there so that we have some documentation on that going forward.
No, we haven't done that, and I thought that we might talk about those things at the next meeting that we have, sort of the restructuring part. And I don't know if we need to, change the complexion of the committee with a vote from the board, or how that would work as well. But we do have one more meeting scheduled, possibly in December, and then we will go on a quarterly basis after that. So I think in December we're going to start wrapping up the loose ends and getting some ideas. Is it your opinion, Katie, that we should have, and everybody's got one, I guess, that we should have a board vote that we're going to change the complexion of that committee?
No, I don't think necessarily that has to happen, although certainly, probably when we dissolve and reform all of our ad hoc committees, right, which happens every year, it might make sense to take a vote on the constitution of the CFD committee, just so that it's sort of, on the record. I guess the question is more, are there any policy documents? Are there any process notes? Like if all of us disappeared, and a totally new board were in the room next month, would they know, what the CFD committee does, what it looks like, how it operates, what its scope of work is? I mean, I think you all have done such an amazing job of figuring out all the moving pieces. It would be really good to document all of that.
Okay. And we are moving into, we're morphing into, a different sort of committee.
Exactly. Kind of like an oversight sort of.
That's time to start talking about that again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's timely because the proposal to go to one community member will necessitate the board to articulate what the new roles and responsibilities would be for that community member. And so, as well as the entire board as a whole should know what the role and responsibilities of the ad hoc committee is. And one thing we did discuss was perhaps having a representative from the town council and allowing the council to nominate somebody rather than there be the board trying to find somebody that could actually come from the town council, allow them to identify the appropriate person. That's just one thought.
That's a good idea.
Certainly, as we go forward, goes forward, we certainly have to articulate what the new roles and responsibilities are, and so that if we all disappear, then we'll know what they need to be doing on a go-forward basis.
Yeah, I didn't mention the town council connection, which I think is a good one, but that's not guaranteed either. We'd have to go, approach them and see if somebody would like to serve. So there's a few loose ends that we need to wrap up.
Yes. Vicki.
I did speak to Victoria Knapp, who's currently the vice chair of the town council, to see just what her initial thoughts were on having the town council appoint a liaison to the community facilities district committee, and she thought they'd be open to that. And then they could determine who it is that serves in that capacity, and if it were to rotate, it would be based on their recommendation or suggestion. She thought it was a good idea, so I can keep nurturing that if that's what the board would like to do.
All right, thank you very much for that. Okay, we will now go to the, let me see here. go to the facilities committee.
Sure, thank you. So there's an awful lot going on because we're getting into the beginnings of things starting to ramp up with the work that's going to have to go into the main branch here. So we've been lucky for a while. We've been able to focus on just Bob Lucas, but we're now going to be very much focused on both libraries. So I'll just touch on a couple of things here. The first, regarding any kind of temporary facilities that we're going to need to have in place at the time that if we end up with having both libraries closed for construction. We continue to struggle to try and find some off-site places in the community, but so we're still working on that, but we are preparing for some kind of modular space in the parking lot here as kind of a last case resort, if you will. So one way or another, before that happens, we will have alternate space ready to go. On the Bob Lucas specifically, we've got kind of two pieces moving right now regarding, the important, making sure that we maintain kind of, historical pieces of Bob Lucas. So that includes, as part of the CEQA process, historical investigation of the building itself and just making sure that we're not doing anything that would violate any kind of historical recognition or special provisions that may apply. And then the other is obviously, we've had a lot of public conversation about the desire to not just maintain, but restore the mural that exists at Bob Lucas. So there's kind of two pieces to that we're investigating. One is the actual mural itself. The second is just the structural integrity of the wall. Both of those need to happen. We want to make sure that we end up with a mural that's going to last for a very, very long time. The last thing I'll just touch on real quickly that's not on here, but we, those of us on the committee got to get some real quick glimpses of some initial renderings of what the main could look like. So we're really excited. We finally, after a long kind of break, meeting with our community focus group sometime in November, getting some initial feedback there, and we're excited to start getting that out to the community as well.
Great, thank you for that. Colleagues, any questions or comments from Jason or for Jason? No, it's exciting to actually start to see some of the renderings for this facility.
Yeah, I can't wait for folks to see it.
Excellent. Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, we will now go to the liaison reports. We have the government liaison report in your packet, which starts on page 58. Terry?
Yeah, it's a sort of a short report, but a last follow-up on the item that I had been putting in my previous reports regarding the Taxpayer Protection and Government Accountability Act. You might recall that the last meeting that was on the eve of the deadline for all of the verified signatures to come through, and they fell short, but at the last minute, a day or two later, actually, all of the signatures from LA County came rolling in, and this met the signature threshold that it needed. But it won't be on the ballot, of course, this year, this session. It will be on the ballot probably in 2024. So it's a future item for us. And I think that the reason I was worried about it would be that we would have some retroactive activity, perhaps in the way that we raised our funds to demonstrate to this act. But I don't think that'll be the case going forward. And then the other part of it is literacy and voting. There was an interesting interview that I saw on public television about a woman for Publica who had done an article about the fact that there is a high illiteracy rate, comparatively speaking, in parts of the country. And one thing she says, 1 in 5 Americans struggles to read English at a basic level. So literacy is really something that needs, it kind of intersects with voting in this interview that she did. And that there are lots of people who can't vote or unable to vote properly because they lack the literacy to do it. So I thought it was an interesting item to include in my report. And there's also a line there that you can go to, a link you can go to that shows you the maps and the things that they did. So pretty interesting article. I just thought I'd throw that into the report this time in the spirit of the voting season that we're going through right now.
Great. Thank you very much for that, Terry. Any comments or questions from our colleagues here? No? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much for that report, Terry. All right, we have no other trustee reports, and furthermore, we have no unfinished business to discuss, so we will now go to item 8, new business. Item 8A, review approval of the RFP for HR consulting services, which is, you can find that on page 60 of your packet.
All right, thank you. So over the past several years, the district has utilized a combination of in-house and consultant services to meet its human resources management needs. I won't list them all, but that includes recruiting and onboarding, compensation and benefit management, personnel policy development, employee relations, payroll, and much, much more. As we know, human resources encompasses a lot. Since 2019, various positions have taken on HR-related responsibilities, including the business manager and administrative services manager. Both included district finance and accounting responsibilities, but based on feedback from previous incumbents of the position, the workload involved with handling both responsibility has proven not to be sustainable over the long term. So due to high turnover in this position and feedback from the incumbents, we created an office manager position to take on the finance responsibilities, which, as the board is aware, we are now looking to outsource. So currently, our HR responsibilities are split between the assistant director as well as myself, our supervisors, our attorneys, Best and Krieger, some outsourcing to Paychecks, which is our payroll and timekeeping company, as well as our professional development consultant, North Star Consulting. This approach, it meets the needs for HR, but comes with some disadvantages. That includes some district employees have felt or provided feedback that they would feel more comfortable with a consistent point of contact to discuss issues with, which at times can be sensitive. We've also heard employees say that they might not always feel comfortable raising issues with high-level managers in the organization, and that they would prefer to speak to a dedicated consultant rather than district employees. In addition to that, my assistant director and supervisors are not experts in human resources and have lots of other duties, as you're all aware. And of course, state and federal labor laws are complex and ever evolving. So it's important to have experts in the field that we can refer to for these functions. So I am proposing to streamline the delivery of HR services with a certified human resources consultant. This, of course, would include continuing to have Best and Krieger for any legal compliance issues that we would coordinate with both the HR firm as well as them. We would continue to have Paychecks, but remove the HR solutions that we're currently paying for with them, and that would just continue to be payroll and timekeeping, as well as, which is our next agenda item, continuing to have North Star Consulting providing employee training and development, employee engagement, and succession planning. The cost of this approach is significantly less than a cost of a full-time manager with salaries and benefits, similar to our approach with hiring an accounting and financial consultant firm. We're not reliant on one person to provide all of this, but rather have a team of experts that can step in to help us out. So the request for proposals is included in your package and being presented, and it has been reviewed by the Altadena management team as well as our general counsel to ensure accuracy, completeness, and legal compliance. So I'm recommending that the board approves the request for proposals for human resources consulting services. The plan will be to post it tomorrow on BidNet, leave it open for about a month, and then bring back a recommended firm, I would assume probably in December. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Great, thank you, Nikki. Colleagues, questions or comments of Nikki regarding this RFP? Yes, Jason.
Just one quick one. I think the vast majority of this makes perfect sense to me. The one thing that did kind of stand out, I wanted to ask about is in the services for the consultant, you included the onboarding for new staff. So I'm just wondering the thoughts behind having that under the consultant versus our on-site leadership.
What I think we would work with the HR firm with is a more formalized process. Most of that work would be carried out, in the building with the like we currently have an onboarding checklist, but I think there's probably a more formalized structure that we could have in place when we're from the start to finish, like with recruiting all the way through getting the person into the building. But the actual training and checklist would happen in the building with the supervisor and other staff.
Any other questions or comments on this, colleagues? Yes, Katie.
Thank you so much. I didn't see it spelled out in the RFP, but I was curious to know if there's an expectation that this would be a consultant who would be able to be on site in person, like on an on-call or as needed basis. Is that the expectation, that somebody could like physically come into the building if there was a meeting or a situation with an employee that needed to be handled?
Absolutely. We definitely will want to include in the scoring criteria that the firm have some type of local presence, not only to be able to come in and help conduct, let's say, exit interviews, interview processes, being part of the recruitment itself, but also if there's some type of personnel issue and staff needs to talk to some person, we definitely want someone to be able to come in, that doesn't have to fly in to get here.
Great.
That'll definitely be for sure. And as well as that is like on an on-call basis, staff are able to pick up the phone and call them. We definitely want to establish a relationship. A specific person with the firm would be my hope.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, great question. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for that question. Any other questions, comments? No? Okay, seeing none. All right. We have this before us. May I get a motion to approve this RFP?
So moved.
Thank you. May I get a second?
Second.
Great. Thank you very much for that. Any further discussions or comments on that matter? Seeing none, we'll take the matter to a vote. Trustee Andrews.
Aye.
Trustee Capell.
Aye.
Trustee Clark.
Aye.
Trustee Wilkerson.
Aye.
And that's an aye vote for me. That matter's approved. Thank you very much for that. All right. Next item is review and approval of execution of professional development consulting services. So it's on page 91 of your packet. Nikki?
Okay, so Altadena Library District depends on its professional staff to provide a very high level of service to the community. In the strategic planning process of 2019, which was established in 2020, professional development of staff was definitely identified as a goal that we wanted to seek throughout all of our operational plans and has been built into every operational plan since. In July of 2021, the Board of Trustees authorized me to contract with North Star Consulting to provide a customized professional development program, which has included 2 rounds of workshops with the Altadena Library District Management Team that were called Leadership Alignment Workshops, facilitated 2 staff development days for all of our Altadena Library staff in October of 2021 and May of 2022. Individualized executive and leadership coaching for our library directors and managers. Also trustee coaching, as well as the board retreat facilitation in January of this year. So we would like to build off of this investment of the last year with North Star Consulting. The management team and I have been very pleased with our work with Jennifer Coyle of North Star and hope to continue this very important professional development work for the district. Her full proposal for training, consulting, and coaching can be found on pages 93 through 95 in your package. But I did want to mention that the focus of the work with North Star Consulting would be to continue development and alignment of the leadership team. This will include an emphasis on identifying success factors for future and current Altadena Library staff. And once identified, to train the managers on how to train and coach these skills in our staff. Examples of that could be resiliency, resourcefulness, flexibility. The management team is really focused on what these next couple of years are going to look like with the 2 building renovations and what types of muscles we need to build in the staff that we have to sustain us through those building renovations. This will be done largely through executive coaching of individual managers and in smaller teams of the management team, which will then hopefully carry out to being able to train and work with the staff moving forward. It will also We'll build in some recruitment work with Jennifer, as well as other consulting that we may need from her. And then we're hoping to do another half-day all-staff training in the next year as well. So as outlined on page 2 of the North Star Scope proposed services, the estimated expense for all training provided is $20,450. We have budgeted $25,000 for staff training and education. So staff would ask that services provided by North Star Consulting not exceed $25,000 for fiscal year 2022-23. So we recommend that you authorize me to consult or to contract with North Star Consulting for professional services as outlined. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great, thank you for that. Colleagues, any questions?
Yeah, so I wanted to just, Nikki, you and I have spoken about this a little bit, but I wanted to have a quick chat in open session about this with the rest of the board. So normally what we would do for a sort of ongoing contract like this is we would go through an RFP process. That didn't happen originally, right, when we brought Jennifer on board. And this is not a critique in any way of the work that's been done with North Star, but just I think I would say it would seem fine to me if we want to extend this contract basically for another year for the additional scope, but I would recommend very strongly that we go through a full RFP process next year. Because it looks like this is going to be an ongoing service that the district needs. I think it's really important that we invest in it, but I also think that we need to go through that process so that, you know, folks have a chance to bid and apply for that work. So normally our financial policies say that usually $10,000 is the limit for board approved stuff, but it also is usually where we draw the line to take something out to an RFP, and obviously this is well north of that amount.
That makes sense. Any other questions or comments, colleagues? Derek?
Well, you alluded at one point to getting staff ready for the big transition that's going to come. And I think that's really important right now, because the more you look at the burden of finding another place and getting, you know, a shop set up there and so on, that's something we really have to keep an eye on. I believe it sort of hit me when I was going through this packet. It's going to be a lot of work in store. So I like that a lot, that aspect of what's going on here.
And my one comment would be is that I know we've discussed this in the past, but certainly with the closures of the facilities, but also just the recent turnover, which is, you know, we actually have stability there, but certainly we should have succession planning as part of this as well. So, you know, you've got the training manager. The manager's part of the management training is to ensure that their staff is trained, so that in the event that someone does move on, we can easily fill up those roles and responsibilities seamlessly.
Yeah, it's a good suggestion. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, colleagues? Okay. Seeing none, may I get a motion to approve the service contract?
So moved.
Great. Thank you.
Well,
Megan,
would that include a new clause or a description about a 1 year, you know, 1 year RFP?
Yeah, we'll be signing another professional services agreement, so I'll make sure that it's just through this fiscal year.
Yeah, it's a 1 year contract, and when the time comes next year prior to that.
Okay, gotcha. So this can go through that any amendments?
There's no amendment necessary, it's a 1 year contract, but the board should, and certainly, well, Nikki will bring it forward next time prior to for the RFP. So, okay, so it's been moved. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Great, thank you very much. Any further discussion or questions on that matter? Seeing none, take it to a vote. Trustee Andrews?
Aye.
Trustee Capel?
Aye.
Trustee Clark?
Aye.
Trustee Wilkerson?
Aye.
That's an aye vote for me. That matter is approved. Thank you very much. All right, now, next item, item C, review and approval of the RFP for vending machines. You can find that on page 96 of your report.
Come on down. All right, good evening, trustees, members of the public. So what you have before you, as you can see through the background, is an RFP for library materials vending machines. We received some funding from the state through measures AB 129 and SB 129, and that was with intent to help the library with funding, programming, and services. in expanding the library's footprint. Essentially, what we're looking to do is, especially as it relates to the closures of the Bob Lucas branch and main branch, our hopes are to continue to provide services, especially materials, make them accessible during those closures, and then well beyond the time of those closures as well. So based off of that, we are bringing you this RFP process for approval because of the fact that a lot of these materials vending machines have a pretty significant cost well beyond the $10,000 threshold. And we are hoping to purchase at least one. And I think we are planning at least up to 3 maximum, but within the funding that we received of $250,000. But at this point, we're saying at least one, because we're not clear on how many, depending on the costs, we would end up purchasing. And I mean, if there are any specific questions, I'm happy to answer those as well. A lot of the other things that are included in the RFP are just standard library jargon as far as, you know, communications, connectivity to the systems, standard protocols and procedures used by RFID technology and so on and so forth.
Thank you for that report. Colleagues, any questions or comments on the proposal before you? Jason.
Having had the benefit of attending some larger conferences where there's vendors, you know, espousing the virtues of their particular machines, there's a pretty huge range from what I've seen of these things and what they can actually dispense, the size, all that kind of stuff. Have we thought at all yet about, with any kind of specificity, what it is we're looking to include in ours? Like, are we thinking just books, or are we thinking broader than that?
We haven't had like a truly in-depth discussion on exactly what we're trying to include in the library materials vending machines, although the goal is to overall make services and materials available. There are some considerations to put into place as it relates to, like, if we're talking beyond books or like audio books, usually for like laptops, for example, there are additional concerns. We have a good neighbor status in the system that's required in order to check out any of our library things materials. So these systems are generally compatible with like our loan rules of these people are allowed to check out these items because they are good neighbors. So it does allow for the capability to circulate various types of items. In this case, we said at least 150 items so that we can put a variety in there, but we hadn't necessarily specified what should be able to go in there. Our goal overall with this RFP, it was a little more broad in scope and asked for them to provide more specific criteria or like specialty systems that might be included into it so that we can review what is out there and what's available, because we're not as keen as to what is available, so that we can review what is out there and then kind of make the best judgment call for providing the most materials and the most services possible to the community through these. Does that
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, this is super exciting. I think between, you know, the mobile, the Curiosity connection and the work that's already been done with the kind of free books pickup spots in various places, and now adding this, I mean, it's pretty amazing how deep into the community we're driving at this point. So I'm excited to see it.
Thank you for that. Any other questions or comments?
Quick question, if I may, David. What's the average, and I'm sure that this will be something included in the RFP, probably it varies, but what's the average lifespan of one of these kind of machines? Are we talking like 5 years, 10 years, 2 years?
I mean, we haven't done a ton of initial research on how much or how long the lifespan is of these units, but in general, I mean, I could refer to self-checkout machines because it's somewhat similar as far as the way that it operates. Mm-hmm. And they tend to last at least 5 years, probably more north toward 10 in general. And then I mean, if you also are looking at regular item vending machines, they tend to have probably a similar lifespan as well, I would guess. So we would expect to get probably at least 5, if not closer to 10 years off of these units, I would estimate, but potentially longer than that, depending on, I mean, obviously the elements play into that too. So we're trying to make sure we take care of the units and put them in spaces where they won't be put out into the elements. So I think there's a lot of factors in there, but beyond 5 years, I would say for sure, if not closer to 10,
Okay.
maybe.
Yeah, I ask because one of the things that obviously we'll want to think about is how to build in, a replacement schedule, and whether that's as part of our capital reserve that we build up, or other funds, whatever. We want to make sure that we, can keep providing a service once we start doing it. So it'd be good to get some preliminary thoughts about what that might look like. I know it's very early in the game, so excited to see what we get back.
We can always add in like that, especially as we do interviews with the vendors. I'm happy to add that in as a question of like, what is the expected lifespan of these units?
That would be super helpful. Yeah, that would be super helpful.
As well as any maintenance that they may have to provide as well.
Yes, and the maintenance, we ask that they include as the cost in the initial RFP. So we should be aware of that.
Colleagues, any other questions?
I should probably know a little bit more about this than I do. I've never seen one before. I assume it's just a big machine that people walk up to and so on. And have you all decided what would be considered a success with this thing in terms of the number of visits and so on? You're looking for upward trends and checkouts and things like that. That's one question. And another question is, do you have like a management team that takes care of it? Or is that all fall to you, David, to make sure that it gets visits to, gets oil changed or whatever it happens with it?
I'll answer the second question first, which is, as I mentioned earlier, part of the RFP is building in service and maintenance into it so that, it's best practice, especially with expensive equipment that has a lot of moving parts, that your service and maintenance is included in that. And generally, you can work with the vendors on if they come out, how often, and then obviously also the support and service on that. So if they're not able to provide service to it, then issuing a replacement for it. In fact, we've done that with our self-checkout machines. And then as far as measures of success go, I mean, I think at least initially, our hope is to provide general access to the public, especially as we're closing. But as far as what is a metric, we haven't necessarily determined what those would be for success just yet. But we'll definitely include that in our plan to make sure to provide feedback and statistical information for the board and the public as well, to make sure they know how successful it is overall.
Great, thank you.
Great. Okay. Seeing no other questions, I get a motion to approve the vending machine RFP as presented in your packet.
So moved.
Great. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Great. Thank you, Jason. Any further discussions or comments on that RFP? No. Seeing none, we'll take the matter to a vote. Trustee Andrews.
Aye.
Trustee Capel.
Aye.
Trustee Clark.
Aye.
Trustee Wilkerson.
Aye.
And that's an aye vote for me. The matter is approved. Thank you very much, David. All right. Next is a review and approval to set up the CEPPT for the district. It can be found on page 126 of your report.
All right, hello again. So as the board is aware, I was authorized a contract with Cal Muni to draft a new unfunded accrued liability policy, which was approved by the board back on May 23rd. The purpose of this policy is develop a plan to pay down our debt obligation to CalPERS for pension benefits to reduce the amount of interest paid on these funds. A couple months ago, I had a meeting with our CalPERS representative to get an update on our CERBT, which is California Employers Retiree Benefits Trust, which the district started investing in 2012. That money is put aside and can only be used to pay for retiree health benefits. We did not contribute to that this year or the year before because our actuaries felt like there was enough money in that fund and it can only be spent on that specific purpose. She did show us that in the 10 years that we've had the money, that on average we were putting somewhere between $60,000 and $100,000 a year in it. It gained like $150,000 of interest just sitting there. So you're making more in terms of percentages than it's sitting in your bank account, for example. So she did present about setting up a CEPPT, which is the Employers Pension Pre-Funding Trust, also known as a Section 15 trust, which was in Section 4B of the UAL policy that the board did pass. This is one of various options presented in the policy to address paying down the district's debt obligation. We found out in that meeting that it's free to set up the trust. It does take passing a resolution, which is in your board package, and then me being authorized to sign off on the agreement with CalPERS. Like I said, there's no cost to actually setting up the trust. So we took that as a possibility to the budget committee, who had a special meeting on September the 12th. We had a CalPERS representative there as well. And the presentation that was given to the budget committee is also in your board package for your review. So our recommendation is to set up the trust. We're not obligated to put any money in it. That is something that I think the budget committee will review on a quarterly basis to see if there is money that should be put into the trust or not. But again, this is just to authorize us to set it up so that it's available in the event that we do want to invest some money in that at a higher interest rate than you would see by just like leaving it in with the county. I know that's a lot of information, but we are recommending that the Board of Trustees adopt Resolution 2022-17, which would authorize me to enter into an agreement with CalPERS via the California Employers Pension Pre-Funding Trust, a Section 115 irrevocable trust, and delegate authority to me to request disbursements through the budgeting process. We did not include language about authorizing me to disperse the money, but to bring disbursement recommendations to the board in the event that we want to do that, which would run through the budget committee as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Colleagues, any questions or comments on this matter?
I'll just add that, and this was in the budget committee report, I think last month, but we did as a committee really kind of dive into the nuts and bolts of all this. As you can see, it's pretty complex, but we felt like it was a really good option to have as we start to explore the ways in which we want to, kind of proactively manage the unfunded accrued liability. And like Nikki said, we're not going to put any money in it right away, but we do, by setting up the trust and passing the resolution that we have in front of us this evening, we'll have the option to use it should it turn out that looks like a good thing to do. It doesn't cost us anything to maintain. It just exists as an account that sits there. So, and we did vote unanimously to recommend to the board that this go forward. We think it's a good idea as a budget committee.
Great, thank you for that clarification.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, seeing no other questions or comments, can I get a motion to approve the matter for us?
So moved.
Great, may I get a second?
I'll second.
Great, thank you very much for that. Any further discussions or comments in this matter? Okay, seeing none, we'll take the matter to a vote. Trustee Andrews?
Aye.
Trustee Cappell?
Aye.
Trustee Clark?
Aye.
Trustee Wilkerson?
Aye.
Great, and that's an aye vote for me. That is approved. Thank you very much. All right. Now, next item, letter E, review and approval of the holidays and closures calendar. You can find that on page 172 of your report. Nikki.
All right, so we again are bringing this to the board in October. It's on the master calendar to bring in November, but November is going to be a really busy month, so we thought we might as well take it to the board this month. The only two items of note that are any different than this year's district holiday and closure calendar are that we are recommending that we recognize Juneteenth. We currently recognize a flexible holiday date. So we're recommending that flexible holiday, which has always been taken sometime around Christmas or New Year's, depending on the way the weeks fell, be recognized as Juneteenth instead. We do close on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and New Year's Day. So that additional holiday was nice, but we feel like it is more important that we're recognizing Juneteenth, which does take place on June 19th each year. In addition to that, the Christmas Eve holiday for 2023 is a little bit weird. It falls on a Sunday at the beginning of a pay period for us, so cannot be taken like the week before, like closing on that Saturday, for example. So we're recommending that we close for December 30th, which is the Saturday before New Year's Eve, in replacement of Christmas Eve, since the staff already will have Sunday and Monday off for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day because of the way the calendar falls. So happy to answer any questions you may have.
Colleagues, questions or comments on this new schedule? Seeing none. I guess you do have a question.
This is on the Juneteenth one. I hadn't seen that before anywhere. Is that something that a lot of public institutions are starting to do now?
Yes.
I know you had that meeting with the special district library folks the other day. I mean, not that you discussed that, but.
Yeah, I didn't talk to them about it, but yeah, there's many government agencies that are recognizing Juneteenth.
Okay, so it's gathering some momentum. Okay,
I
good.
know LA County
LA County
does
does.
it already.
Very common. No. Any other questions or comments? No. All right. May I get a motion to approve the new holiday and closures calendar?
So moved.
Thank you. May I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Any further discussions or comments on the matter? All right, seeing none, take the matter to a vote. Trustee Andrews.
Aye.
Trustee Capell.
Aye.
Trustee Clark.
Hi.
Trustee Wilkerson.
Aye.
And that's an aye vote for me. Thank you very much. All right. Next will be review and approval of the Board of Trustees meeting calendar. 174 of your packet.
Okay, again, we brought this forward tonight so that we can free up some time next month. As we all know, we hold the Board of Trustees meeting on the fourth Monday of each month. That is the case in all of our dates in 2023, with the exception of September 26th. I believe the fourth Monday that month is Yom Kippur, not Rosh Hashanah, so we'll update that to reflect that. As well as December 18th, which is the third Monday due to the Christmas holiday being Monday the 25th. So we're recommending that the board approve this updated calendar for next year.
Thank you very much for that. Questions, comments, colleagues?
So I feel like I bring this up every couple of years, but it's that time again, and I'm curious to know how everybody feels about the 5:00 p.m. time, right? So one thing that I have heard from members of the community or from other folks is that for people who are working, right, or who have childcare responsibilities, it can be really difficult to make a 5 p.m. meeting, and I think that's a very reasonable point. I also recognize that it's difficult to get all the staff and all the, there's a lot of moving parts that go into the board meetings every month, and it's a big undertaking. So I just wanted to, since we're going to talk about it and approve it, I wanted to talk about that 5 p.m. slot and kind of see how everybody feels about it. I do think, we make a lot of efforts to try to make board meetings accessible to folks. And I think the time it can be a barrier to people. Not that we have, big audiences at our board meetings, but if somebody did want to come or if somebody did want to serve, and they were working a regular 9-to-5 job, it could be pretty challenging. So just curious to know kind of where you all think about that and kind of what your feelings are.
Colleagues?
Well, I think that's a good idea. I'm all for anything that would get some more folks sitting here and listen to what we do. And I think you're right, 5:00 can be a tough hour for people to get here. They're driving home from work or whatever. But also, if it didn't work out and it just, continued to inconvenience those of us that have to, work at a later hour, not that it's a big inconvenience. I just wondered, it's hard to know exactly which way to go on that one, but my gut feeling, I guess, is that I would be interested personally to have more folks in here, and if there's just moving it to 7 was a way to do that, then I'm all in favor of that.
Anything else?
I think personally, I think it's a barrier either way. So I don't think that changing it, when I think about my own schedule, working a semi-traditional 9 to 5 and having a small child, it's rough at 5, but it's also going to be rough at 7. So I think that if it's something that's on the calendar, it can be planned for, at least for me. Today is a prime example. I was lucky that my husband did not work today because we have, the small one has all kinds of activities that, for example, didn't end until 5:30 today. So I think that for me personally, it's a barrier either way, but it's something that can be planned for.
Yeah, that's super reasonable. I think that's probably right, Camila. And I also, Terry, your point is very well made. Like we're blazing through our agenda tonight, but there are plenty of meetings where we spend 2, 3, 4 hours, and if we were to start later, gosh, that'd be pretty brutal. So I just wanted to bring it up because we haven't had the conversation in a while, but I'm not sure that there's an obviously preferable alternative. But I think it's important that we talk about it every so often.
I'm personally fine either way. I mean, the only time, luckily, my situation, the only time it's not possible is because I can't be here, period. So.
All right, any further comments? So, Katie, do you have, are you contemplating moving it or introduce a motion or just let it go as is? What's your preference?
No, I'm perfectly prepared to move that we adopt the calendar as it appears in the package. I just wanted to kind of see where take everybody's temperature on that and see where people were feeling. And I do think, to be fair, that the approach we've taken of having special meetings at times where we feel like maybe we can get some more community involvement is really good as well. I think it does help. But yeah, it's tough.
It was just a small one, but I think it's already corrected.
Yeah, it's already corrected.
Do we need to change the, is it correct as?
Yeah, it's corrected as it's posted.
Okay, got it. Okay, all right, great. Well, thank you for that discussion. May I get a motion to approve the calendar?
So moved, except that it says 2022 on a lot of the dates. Is that what we were just talking about?
It's been corrected, so whatever's.
Okay, great. So whatever the correct version is, so moved.
And it will have the correction that it's for Yom Kippur on September 20th.
Perfect.
Great, okay, thank you for that. All right, first, was that a motion to approve? Okay.
Second.
Okay, great, all right. Any further discussions on that calendar? Okay, seeing none, we'll take the matter to a vote. Trustee Andrews?
Aye.
Trustee Capel?
Aye.
Trustee Clark?
Aye.
Trustee Wilkerson?
Aye.
That's an aye vote for me. That matter is now approved. All right, last of the action items is the standard review and approval of the resolution 22-19 to extend the provisions of the basically remote teleconferencing.
And yeah, I did want to provide some updates. We actually spoke to the attorneys today, and Catalina has done a lot of research around AB 361, which was the law that was passed that allowed for teleconferencing. We also heard that AB 2449 was another law that has been passed that also sets some parameters around virtual meetings. So just so the board is aware, AB 361 is actually in effect until January 1st, 2024. And up until now, we were always basing it on whether or not the governor's state of emergency was in effect. That is set to expire at the end of February 2023, but according to our attorney, AB 361 has not been tested in court. So he believes that boards will be able to justify the virtual meetings through the end of 2023. AB 2449, which will then be the changes to the Board Act or the Brown Act, doesn't get rid of AB 361, but provides another option, which it states that a member of the governing board would need to have just cause or a medical emergency to be able to attend virtually. This would typically be, or it's only allowed twice a year or up to 20% of how often the board meets. So again, we just wanted to provide a little bit of an update because it's been a little bit contradictory as to what we have to follow. But either way, our attorney said that we would be safe to continue the teleconferencing resolution at least until the end of February 2023, potentially through the end of the year, depending on how you want to discern the law. So I just wanted to provide that as a little bit more information about teleconferencing.
Great, thank you very much for that.
And they still have to be monthly votes either way, or do the bills get rid of that part?
As long as the teleconferencing or hybrid is happening, it would still need to be a monthly resolution. But moving forward, when AB 2449 goes into effect, it would just be like if someone has to remotely, it wouldn't be a teleconferencing, it would fall under the law. And of course, there is always the other option that if someone were to want to attend, and this is based on the original Brown Act, virtually from a remote location, you can also post their address as an alternate site, but then it would have to be open to the public to attend the meeting there as well. And that does only apply to the members of the governing board, like staff and consultants and others can attend virtually.
Okay, any other questions or comments? No? Okay, seeing none, may I get a motion to approve the resolution before us?
I'll move to approve the resolution.
Thank you. May I get a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussions on the matter? Seeing none, we'll take the matter to a vote. Trustee Andrews.
Aye.
Trustee Capel.
Aye.
Trustee Clark.
Aye.
Trustee Wilkerson.
Aye.
And that's an aye vote for me. Matters are now approved. We'll now move on to the governance section. 9A, board nominations closing. You can find that on page 178 of your packet.
Hello, members of the board. So this is just a notification from the county registrar clerk's office. Just that for the 3 open board seats, we only had 2 applications. So those 2 are going to be appointed to those 2 seats. It's just a notice that there will not be an election held because there was not enough applicants. And it's noticed that we're just going to move forward as we've already begun to nominate somebody to appoint, who will then be appointed. We'll forward that to the board of supervisors, and they will officially appoint whoever is chosen for that board seat that will be empty.
Great. Any questions or comments?
Congratulations, Trustee Clark.
Congratulations, Trustee Capel. Bravo, well done.
Now.
Missed opportunity for formal congratulations.
Exactly. Well, congratulations nonetheless. All right, now we'll go on to 9B, board vacancy update.
Oh, I suppose that that generally includes pretty much what I just covered. So we're moving forward as we've already planned. We posted it on the website, calling for applications. We also have a flyer that we're going to have circulating throughout the city of Altadena. It's going to be posted on our Facebook group. It's going to go out in Altadena Connections. And any ideas or feedback of like other places where we may be able to spread the paper flyers around or anything on social media. Of course, we're always taking ideas for that, just to really get it out there and get the most applications that we can get out of the community. We've also, as of today, set a date finally for the special meeting that will take place on November 14th, 7 p.m. I'll be setting out that invite tonight. And that also, I think the third item,
Yes.
that about covers that as well.
It does, yeah.
Yes. Any questions for those things I've gone over?
What have we tried, since we're actively involved in restocking the little free libraries, we could slip one of the flyers as we're doing that? Hopefully that might catch somebody.
Good idea.
Yeah, I think anywhere we can.
Great idea.
Yes, ma'am.
I was gonna say also, are we still doing the shop local, read local? I forget what it's called. Because I wonder if we could also put some flyers there for our partners.
Yes, I'm not sure. Ashley, would you like to speak to that? Yeah.
making the trip to the mic just to say we cannot.
Oh.
The program is currently being reworked so that
Okay.
it can relaunch January 2023.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much for that, Ashley. All right.
I also saw, I don't know if you can do it there also, but I was at the Coffee and Unincorporated and I saw some flyers up in their window today. I was thinking about, they had like for some new schools, preschools, and I thought, oh, I didn't know, you could post things in coffee shops and places like that. So that might be somewhere, maybe some of the local, not partnerships, but some of the local businesses that are in Altadena might be nice. I was also in Perry's joint last week and I saw some flyers for some cool events. So maybe some places like that. I'm not sure if that's in Pasadena or Altadena, but I don't know if it matters.
We go there all the time.
Yeah.
Good ideas. Very good. Okay, last would be the LAFCO voting member ballot.
One other question, sorry. So we're having the vacancy meeting on the 14th at 7. And then the strategic meeting is that, did we also confirm that?
So that's been delayed.
Okay.
That is not gonna be happening in November
Okay.
as of right now.
Okay.
Responses are still being collected and the data being put together. It was decided that it would be a little too rushed and they wanna, I think, time with that process.
Okay, so just the 2 meetings in November?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for your work on that. I know that was very laborious.
Very chance.
Thank you.
All right, so now the LAFCO piece, LAFCO voting member ballot is in our package.
Yeah, so this was included as a governance item. So I know our government liaison, Terry, I included that for you to kind of take it to the board and maybe, we're not sure how it's been done in the past. I kind of looked at past board packages and how that's been handled, but I couldn't find anything in particular that pertained to the LAFCO election. So if that's something that is going to be decided by a single board member, or if the board wanted to come together and review those nominees together and make that voting decision as a board, that's included for your information. The vote doesn't go, it's not due until November 30th, so next month. So there's still time to review the nominees.
I'm sorry, so this would be then a formal collective board nomination of a specific candidate? Is that what we would be endorsing? What would this, what's the action of this board?
So
I don't know if it was specific to LAFCO, but in the past, the board has authorized Terry to make a decision. So I think we're sharing the information with the full board.
Okay.
And then you can have discussion around allowing Terry to make the selection.
Yeah, and that's exactly right how it happened. It was actually a discussion, and I don't remember if we had a vote on it, but it was that category of governmental interaction. I would just go ahead and vote for that person and report back to you. Which is, and I'm sorry that got by me. I feel like I should have done my job and I didn't see that. So I'm prepared to go ahead and do the same research that I did on the candidates last year and make a decision based on that for who to vote for. And that's, it was okay with the board last time, I'm assuming this time as well.
Okay.
I think that's great. And in fact, we did rewrite the board policies to include exactly that responsibility in the government liaison role. So yes, please.
Yeah, so thanks for bringing that to my attention, Kathleen. I appreciate it.
Terry, thank you for doing what you do. So, all right, so now next is announcements and planning. Correspondence or any future agenda items? Colleagues, any future agenda items? No?
I've got just one thing, and I'm working on some amended language on the facilities use policy that came to us a couple of months ago. I had some follow-up conversations with Nikki about that, and she recommended that I suggest some language if I wanted to see some different verbiage in there about how we handle rental policies for community organizations. So I am working on that. My goal is to have that either for the November or December meetings. I know we've got a packed agenda in November, so if it needs to come in December, that's fine. It's not hugely urgent, but I want to make sure it doesn't fall off the radar.
Okay, great. All right, thank you very much for that. All right. Down to our last item, adjournment. May I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
All right. Second?
I'll second.
All right, without further ado,
I got used to you just saying, okay.
let's go. All right, now, without further discussion, the meeting is now adjourned. It is 6:30. Thank you very much for your time.